This episode of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast is sponsored by Caneswear. Caneswear.com is the spot where Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com, the best and most affordable gear for the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Marlins, the Miami Heat, the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, all of the professional and college sports teams in South Florida. Caneswear.com has you covered. If you're in South Florida, you can visit the storefront at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. They ship internationally as well. So Caneswear.com, make it the place. It's the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins gear. That's Caneswear.com, Caneswear.com. And don't forget about Dolphins Talk Extra. Go to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk for additional Miami Dolphins content. You get extra access to our private Discord server. You get bonus podcasts covering the Miami Dolphins. You get off-topic content as well. We have live watch-alongs. We have retro rewatches where we watch old games and talk about them. We do off-topic shows. We have prizes, contests, all kinds of exclusive access only for Dolphins Talk Extra subscribers. So join us, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. You can join the fun for as little as $3 a month. Head on over to Dolphins Talk Extra at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. And now, on with the show.
Hello, everyone out there at Dolphins Talk Nation. My name is Marissa Marino, and today I am joined by the very talented and super knowledgeable Ryan Clark, ESPN analyst and co-host of the Pivot podcast.
Yeah.
Mr. Clark, how are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I am doing great. Better now that you're here. Excited to talk some Dolphins football with you. So now that you wanted to just dig right into it, because we know Dolphins, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I'm ready. Listen, the Dolphins are talking enough for all of us, but maybe we can add some insight that helps people to understand it a little bit better.
There you go. Well, first question that I have for you is this idea and this narrative that the Dolphins are a soft team. They've been labeled that. Former players who played for Miami and players on other teams have gone to the media and said as such. As a former player yourself, when you hear a team called soft, what does that mean in your eyes? And how does a team go about changing that image?
Well, I think the first thing, it's a mindset, right? It's not necessarily that you think the people that have made it to the NFL, dealt with the adversity that many of these players have dealt with are soft people. But it's a mindset and the physicality in which you approach each game. They are a team that are a ton of smoke and mirrors on the offensive side of the ball with shifts and motions and trying to get you offset, trying to get you discombobulated, making sure that you communicate. And a lot of times that doesn't lead to physicality in running the football. And when you have these teams who don't run the football physically, normally they don't defend that way up front as well. And so I think that's all a part of it. And two, some of it is just people's perception based on what they think a team is, based on how a team presents in press conferences, how a team presents when they speak. And I do believe all of these things lend to people saying those things about the Dolphins. But the only way to change that is to go out there and play physically. The way you change that is going out there and attacking. It's Tua Tagovailoa continuing to show toughness. It's a run game that has been a lot of side to side, a lot of tricks saying, nah, sometimes we want to put a hat in the hat and get downhill. And I think Mike McDaniel understands that coming from San Francisco, where it was about physicality each and every day. And I think this team needs to adapt more of that mindset than maybe the mindset we've seen the last couple of years.
Absolutely. And, you touched on Tua, which he's somebody who we maybe don't want to see as much physicality from him as you saw last season where he threw a pick and he tried to tackle the guy.
We don't want that.
We don't want that. We're preaching self-preservation. He's going into year 6. We know, everybody knows he has to stay healthy. He has to stay healthy. He needs to be available. He can't miss 6 games like he did last season. What is your opinion on Tua heading into this 2025 season?
I think everybody knows how talented Tua is, right? We understand the anticipation, understanding the accuracy, how he can manipulate and distribute the football and what Mike McDaniel wants him to do. We also all cringe or shiver a little bit every time somebody gets close to him.
Mm.
when somebody's around him or when he's running the football. We're asking him to get down. We interviewed Deion Dawkins this offseason, and he spoke about the play in which Tua Tagovailoa ran into DeMar Hamlin. And he
Mhm.
said the entire time in the entire game, every time Tua left the pocket, they were screaming on the sideline, get down, get down, get down. That's not something you want associated with a player on your team. That's not a level of fear you want to go in to every game with. And you also don't want him to play with that level of fear. You don't want him to play with that level of apprehension, because the fearlessness of football makes the best football players. The willingness to go to a dark place time in and time again when nobody else in the world has that sort of stuff, that's what ultimately makes people set apart from civilians, from lay people. And I think it's going to be navigating that for Tua Tagovailoa that also plays into, quote unquote, this is a soft team. I think
Mm.
he has to navigate that in a way where he understands how to take the calculated chances that wins football games while maintaining his health.
Absolutely. And we've seen a little bit different of a Tua this offseason. We've seen him answer questions a little bit differently, be more assertive when it came to everything with Tyreek Hill. So we shall see how the season pans out. And speaking of that quarterback room, last season we cycled through 3 different backup quarterbacks. They bring in Zach Wilson as their backup this year. We know that they drafted Quinn Ewers. What do you think of the moves that they've made on this roster for that backup position? Do you think, with how injury prone Tua is, that they should have brought in somebody with more experience?
I mean, Zach Wilson has a ton of experience.
Yeah,
Maybe you can say from Zach Wilson's standpoint, someone with more success,
more six. Yeah.
right? But you definitely think that he's had, a number of snaps in the AFC East to have familiarity with what he'll be dealing with. Then you draft Quinn Ewers, who played a ton of football
Mhm.
at Texas. If you would have asked people before last season if he'd still be around in the 5th round of the draft, many of those people would have called you crazy, right? They would have said you were insane to believe that he would be there. So you have talented people backing up Tua, but can those people keep this team afloat? Can both of those guys keep this team in the playoff hunt if Tua has to miss time or if Tua has to miss games? That's something only Mike McDaniel can understand. Mike McDaniel can prepare them for. And when you get a dude like Zach Wilson, let me see how I can explain this, right? It's like when you get drafted that high,
Mhm.
you have to prove to people that you stink. Right, like you're going to get opportunity after opportunity because all of these people who are talent evaluators remember how talented they believed you were when you left BYU.
Mhm.
And they're going to think that maybe it's the right tweak, maybe it's the right coach, maybe it's the right scheme that untaps or unlocks all of that potential. And so I believe they look at Zach Wilson as someone with an incredibly high ceiling, and they hope that if he has to spell Tua for a game, for a series, for the rest of the season, some of that talent shows up down there at Hard Rock.
Absolutely. And, staying on the offensive side of the ball, another part of this Tua dynamic is Tyreek Hill. And he's been such a weapon at wide receiver for us, a future Hall of Famer, but it
Yeah.
always seems to be something with Tyreek, either off the field or causing issues in the locker room. Are you at all surprised that he is back in Miami after how last season ended? And just on top of that, how do you think he handled the Tyreek questions in the past couple weeks?
Yeah, I can. So Tyreek and I had a conversation in person.
Mhm.
Actually, it's recorded on the Pivot. We're at
Check
the
it out.
Super. We're at the Super Bowl. We're on the carpet at the EA event, and he
Mhm.
says, "Channing, I like you. Fred, I like you. RC, I don't mess with you." And he's like, my mom sent me something you said about me. I said, well, what did I say? And it was me talking about what he did in the locker room after that game. I believe it was against the Jets.
Mhm.
And I said, a leader doesn't do that. I said, even if that's your feeling, that's something you handle privately with your team, coaches. You don't go out and put that sort of business on Front Street. And I told him that to his face. I was like, you got to be better than that. And he respected it. And that's one thing about sitting in the seat I sit in, right? You have to be able to stand on what you say. But I also did at least love that he challenged me on it, and I had to repeat myself, or I had to clarify. I don't think that what he did should ever be done. I don't think you single yourself out from the team and say, I can't be here because whatever is happening here, it's not me, it's them. And so when you hear Tua say, hey, it's a work in progress, that's the honesty of being hurt by his statements. That's, hey, man, if we're all putting our hand in the pile, we have to have one another's back. We have to support one another. And he didn't do that. And I can't say I'm surprised that he's there because he's so damn good at football.
Yeah.
Right. With extreme talent comes extreme tolerance. And I think that's why Tyreek Hill is there, because he has a very particular skill set that no one else in the NFL has. And it works so well for Mike McDaniel and that offense and Tua Tagovailoa. And so when you listen to some of the things that have come out of camp this year, and I've heard Tyreek, whether it's the joke about H-hand or just some of the other things he said,
Just learning the playbook.
Yeah, I'm wondering when he's going to mature as a person, when he's going to mature as a player, when he's going to mature as a leader, because even if all of these things are going on, even if these are your thoughts, you understand where you are and where you are with your team. And so not everything needs to be said. And I believe that's some of the advice Tyreek Hill should be getting now, is that, it's better to be thought of as a fool rather than to speak and remove all doubt. And I think people are getting to the point to where they're expecting foolishness from him, so they put him in situations to provide just that.
100%. And I think what ties this all up in a bow too is Coach Mike McDaniel. There's been talks about him not holding guys accountable for being late and different things that he's allowed on the team. Now, again, a lot of this is hearsay, but this is his year 4 for Mike McDaniel as head coach. Team was under 500 last season. The offense stalled at times, even when Tua was healthy and was under center. Are you still a believer in Mike McDaniel as a head coach in the NFL?
Yeah, I am, because I think Mike McDaniel is extremely smart. I think Mike McDaniel is someone who wants to do what's best for players. And what happens is, right, there is leeway and tolerance given to people who sort of earn it, right? Coach Tomlin has this saying, I'll treat everybody fair, but I won't treat everybody the same. Like that's part of coaching. And I think with them not playing well last year, some of the things that probably endear him to his players are things people are pointing to now to speak to an undisciplined regime, right? An undisciplined atmosphere. And he has to be able to adjust to that. He has to be able to figure out, okay, living this way, coaching this way, did not get the best out of my team last year. How do I get the best out of my team now? But you have to do that while remaining authentic, right? Like, he can't stop wearing off-whites and start wearing Hokas because he feels like that makes him more mature, right? That's not who he is. He can't start speaking in a different way. That's his laid-back way of communicating. But you can change the rules. You can change how you enforce the rules. You can have different agendas and different mottos and different ideas and rules and regulations that now point you in a direction of winning. And I believe Mike McDaniel is smart enough to do that. It's going to be, okay, is my team good enough to execute that, not only in the AFC East, but in the AFC, which we all know is extremely top heavy when you think of some of the big dogs in the NFL.
Yeah, and speaking of that, they've kind of changed it up. 4 captains are no longer with the team, and we have some fresh faces, some that have been with us before, and I'd love your opinion on this. Minkah Fitzpatrick is back in Miami. I know as a former Pittsburgh Steeler, that is a team you watch closely. What are your thoughts on Minkah the player? Some reports where Pittsburgh wanted to move on as they felt he lost a step. Do you think he'll fit in well with this Miami team?
I do. And I don't think Minkah lost a step. I think he was playing in a system that, based on roster construction, he was asked to do something that didn't allow him to make the plays that he's used to. And I don't really know if you've ever talked to Minka or been around him.
Mhm.
Dude is all business and all winning,
Mhm.
right? He's all about making plays, helping the team, being the best that he could be. And I think he had gotten to a point where the way he was being utilized in Pittsburgh wasn't allowing him to do that. And I can't see him being the most pleasant to be around if he's not able to contribute to winning. And
Mm.
so I think for him, not being able to make the plays that he's used to, for the team not seeing him or putting him in position to make the plays he's used to, it was time to move on from that. And I believe my thought process is that Pittsburgh wanted to move to a more man heavy sort of system on the back end so you can play against the Lamars and you can play against the Joe Burrows, you can play against the Patrick Mahomes and get pressure on them while having sticky coverage on the back end and not being picked apart. I think Jalen fits that a little bit more than Minka did going forward. And I don't think you need that ultimate playmaker at the position he played as much as the one Jalen will play now. And so I think it was a good move for both. But Minka, trust me, he can still do it. He's still one of the best in the game. Instincts, intelligence, aggression, belief, confidence. And we'll see all of those things show itself in Miami this year, even if he won't talk to the media. But
Yeah.
you
He did a little snippet at training camp recently. Not a ton, but we got a little bit. Okay, I have two more questions and I will get you out of here. I know you're a very busy guy. So, speaking of a different Jalen, we now have a healthy Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb coming back to the team alongside of Chop Robinson, who
yeah.
had one heck of a good rookie season. If Phillips and Chop are 100, how much do you think that'll impact Chop's production? And what are your thoughts on Chop in Miami's pass rush this
I
season?
think I think that's huge, right? Because obviously we know what Bradley was when he was acquired from Denver
Hmm.
to the Miami Dolphins, and he's injured. Jalen, a early round draft pick, and was just starting to get an opportunity to show who he was, and then bit by the injury bug. And Chop, Chop was brought in because those other two guys were banged up, and he was able to have a very impactful rookie year where his production was probably a level up from what we saw from him at Penn State. And so think about what another Penn State guy. Think about the way people are talking about the New York Giants. Now, Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns obviously were healthy players last year, and we saw what they can do. We've seen what Kayvon did 2 years ago, but you add Abdul Carter and all the different videos we're seeing of all three of those men on the field.
Mm.
Miami has the same sort of talent level. Miami has an opportunity. You also just signed Zach Sealer to an extension, right? Think about having those three men on the field along with Zach in sub packages to now where you can rush for and you can play different coverages on the back end. This truly gives them an opportunity to be sort of from a schematic standpoint as diverse as they've ever been because you can create pressure with only a four-man rush. And so I'm extremely excited to see how they implement all three of these players while not in any way stifling Chop's ascension, because going into your second year, that's when you see a huge jump for these young players. And based off of what he was able to do last year, you think that he will be one of the top players at the position in the AFC.
Yes, I'm predicting 13 plus sacks for the guy. So I'm hoping that he'll be able to follow through with that.
Yeah.
Final question for you. After Buffalo, because I know that's going to be the answer, how do you see the rest of the AFC East shaking out this season?
I think New England's going to be surprisingly good this year.
Hmm. Yeah.
I love the additions of Mac Hollins and Stephon Diggs to give Drake May other weapons on the outside that he didn't have last year. You look at drafting Trayvon Henderson from Ohio State. I thought he was the most explosive back in all of the draft. And then some of the pieces they added defensively, along with, to me, the biggest acquisition they made in the offseason, which is hiring Mike Vrabel after sitting out for a year last year,
Yeah.
former Tennessee Titans head coach. So I think if I had to pick a team, that would be
Mhm.
second. It would be them. I expect the Jets to be better, but under a first-year coach, understanding who Aaron Glenn is, I think there'll still be some growing pains there. Justin Fields adjusting to playing quarterback. And for Miami, it's like, how good can you be on the back end?
Mm.
We saw them go out. You get Mike Hilton. You also go get Jack Jones. You add Minka Fitzpatrick, but you do lose Jalen Ramsey. You have an early injury. I think was it
Kohu.
Kohu got hurt. early in camp. And so there's a lot of things going on in the back end. If you can shore that up and figure out a way to get downhill physicality in the run game, this team could be squarely back in the wild card hunt again. But I do believe New England is going to be one of those teams they'll have to battle.
It's been nice not to have to worry about them for a couple years, but here we are again, back in the same position.
Yeah.
All right, quick question before we get you out of here. I saw a post you posted just a couple hours ago about your disdain for coleslaw. Ryan, you felt the need to tweet that. I mean, you must feel very serious about the coleslaw thing.
Yeah, because I was just having a conversation about things that people think are cool or good that really aren't. You know what I mean? And I was just in Pittsburgh. They were asking me about Permane Brothers, and they put all this different stuff on a sandwich. Who wants coleslaw on a sandwich? Better yet, who wants coleslaw, period? You have never pulled up anywhere, Marissa, and been like, hey, guys, throw me some of that coleslaw ever in your life, right? I ain't never been on the grill, have somebody roll up and be like, hey, man, you got macaroni, you got baked beans, you got some coleslaw? Nobody ever asked that. And so it was just on my heart, and I wanted to share what was on my heart with the world. And now the Twitter world understands that coleslaw is something that I deem totally unnecessary.
Yeah, you're not going to sign up to bring it to the next barbecue.
Nobody should. I'm actually going to kick the person out who does bring it.
They're like, I got the coleslaw. You're like, actually, you're uninvited.
You got the door. That's what you got.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. I know you've been so busy with your coverage on ESPN and also the Pivot podcast, which is just one-on-one conversation, super incredible with Channing Crowder. Make sure you follow Ryan Clark on Twitter at RealClark25. Mr. Clark, any parting words for Dolphins Talk Nation listening?
Hey, Dolphins, stay the course, support your team, and at least if things go bad, you got South Beach right down the street.
There you go. Put your feet in the sand. Go touch some grass, guys. All right. Well, on behalf of me and everyone at Dolphins Talk, I hope everyone has a great rest of your day and fins up.
Hey, everyone. Mike here from DolphinsTalk.com. And thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to take a second to smash the like button here on this video and also to ensure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. We thank you so much for listening, and we know there are a lot of podcast options out there these days regarding the Miami Dolphins and with non-Miami Dolphins podcasts. So we do appreciate you giving us a few minutes each and every day to tune in and listen to all of our shows. Everyone here on staff, thanks you so much. And if you enjoy these shows, also please be sure to sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra, our Patreon service at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk, where we have bonus podcasts about the Dolphins and some shows not about the Miami Dolphins. We have a private message board. We also have a ton of contests where we give away really cool prizes, and it's all for the low cost of $3 a month. Again, that's patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. And also, please be sure to follow the written content we have up on our website. So check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com, each and every day. Once again, thank you again for listening. Take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.